Hello everyone and welcome to Lowrentrick scale modelling, and this is my second time around build of the Tamiya 135 scale British Special Air Service Jeep. An absolutely fantastic model for £9. Now this is my second time around. I built this one a year, 18 months ago, and now I'm 100 models in later. So it'll be interesting to see the difference between this model and the one that I build now. I was really pleased with this one. The weathering came out really well, but some of the detail is lacking and it looks a little bit slapdash. So I'm hoping to do a better job of it. Let's see. I'll keep this model off to the side so I can keep casting my eye over it and making sure I'm doing a little bit better. Now, I ordered this from Amazon, and there is a link in the description to get your own. But do beware. When the model turned up and the other two or three that I bought, this is how they turned up. So it's a little thing, I know, but it made me a little bit mad. If you're someone like me who considers the box an integral part of the model and wants the box to be nice and clean and shiny, then just click "It's a gift," and I think that makes them pack it in a box, or at least in an envelope. Um, I was a little bit dumbfounded. So before we get on with the build, please do consider hitting that subscribe button and turning on notifications so you can see all the future builds. And check out the channel memberships. I've started to gain a few members now, which is really helping the channel to grow. So hit that button. It's completely free and it really helps me out. Everything in the box is good quality, as you'd come to expect from Tamiya. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint a lot of this on the sprue to start with, because it's all a uniform colour. It's all going to get a very light coating over, and I'm going to do the wheels while they're still mounted because they're quite small and fiddly and I've got sausagey fingers. So just giving them their nice detail coat first while they're still attached to the sprue, and then afterwards I'm going to take them off. I'm going to sand off the seams and then do the centre part and get them painted up nice. I'll also be painting any of the little parts that I want in gunmetal while it's still attached to the sprue as well, and then tidying up later on as I attach them. Now there's only really two parts that could be considered tricky on this model. One of them being getting the chassis wheels lined up properly. They take a little bit of messing with just to get lined up, and I'll be holding these until they've set because they've got a tendency to spring out. On the side, once I've got those silver bits attached, I'm just going to mark up the parts I want in black and stick that extra detail in. Something I really neglected on the last model, so I'll get the underside nicely painted up so I can really make a most of that detail. Assembling the wheels at this stage after again the centres sanded down and painted up, but they're not needed for quite some time. This is really just to get it out of the way and then shift them off to the side, because the whole chassis and bodywork goes together before the wheels actually go on. But they're starting to look quite nice. They've got a bit of panel liner on them just to bring out the nuts and bolts and crevices, and also painting a little tiny bit of the detail on the inside before we stick it all together. I'm going to get quite a worn look on these seats. I'm going to make them look sort of leather, because that's what I want to do, and keeping some of the brush strokes actually in the paint to give it sort of a worn look on the seats. It's a good idea to get the controls into the cab at this stage, the gear lever and such, because they're really quite tricky to get in once you've got the sides in or any stowage on. So get them in now and give them plenty of time to set so that they will get knocked about and a bit of manipulation, and then stick the main body together. I was asked on the last model how I did the dashboard. I just painted it sand colour for the last model. So for the dashboard on this one, what I did is I painted it in black, and then I used a little bit of dry brushing in gunmetal just to bring out a bit of the detail, just so you can see the dials. It's not so good on the camera, but with the naked eye it looks just about right. When fixing the bonnet, it does tend to be a bit springy. It's got a tendency to lift off and present too much of a panel line or a panel gap. So for this, I'm going to clamp it to hold it while it sets, just to give it the best chance possible of getting those two seams together. Because the seams at the front don't look too bad looking at the grill, but the seams in the main body look a bit awful. So they are going to get clamped while they set. Jerry cans, so many jerry cans. I think this kit holds the record for the most jerry cans that I've seen. If you've seen more, let me know in the comments. One of the real great parts of this kit is all the stowage and extra weaponry and everything that gets loaded onto this Land Rover chassis, and it really brings the kit to life. It's worth all the time in the world to get these little bits of detail correct and get all that stowage built on, because that's what gives it life and makes it look really realistic once it's all on. Now, before the wheels go on, I'm going to weather up the chassis. So the weathering will consist of some dry brushing on the corners to simulate a little bit of wear and a little bit of sandblast where the paint's been taken off and knocked off. And then I'm going to use a sponge, a cut up kitchen sponge, to simulate a little bit of chipping also. To make that effect is really good, especially on these models that are really small and you haven't got a lot of space to work. It's a really viable method for getting the chipping to look nice. Here's a close-up shot of the bonnet before the stowage goes on, and as you can see, a combination of the dry brush and the sponge really do make a really nice viable effect for a little bit of chipping and weathering. And this is a go-to move of mine to make it look nice on these smaller models. I'll also be using some dry Revell weathering powder, just mixed with a bit of water. When it dries back to the powder, but in a coating in the wheel arches and underneath, anywhere where I want a bit of muck and a bit of dirt. The Revell weathering set I bought almost 2 years ago, and I'm still using it now. I'll stick a link in the description below. I think it's about 12 quid, and you get 6 different coloured pots, like the white and the black and the mud and things like that. It's a fantastic little set and really does go a long way, especially if you do mix it with the water and then allow it to dry. And the good thing is, what you don't use once it's dry, it can be used again. You can just add more water to it and keep on using it. The effect will change. The weathering powder looks really severe when it first goes on, then it dries off. And also when you put any sort of coating, any sort of varnish over the top, that really does dumb it down. So a little bit of experimentation, just to get the right effect for you. Once the varnish has gone off, you can always add a little bit more over the top and make the effect more pronounced if you wish. Once the base weathering's done, I can now start to apply the wheels and the extra stowage. Um, they will be weathered in separately. It's difficult to get behind them, obviously, once you've stuck them on. So I like to do the weathering in stages. The base layer, then the stowage, and it can take a little bit of time to tie them in together to get the same effect. But it is worth doing that way so you don't have bright patches behind the stowage. The wheels are designed to move, but for this model they are going to get fixed. It's got slightly too much play in it for my liking, and they can look like they're not fixed properly, so these ones are getting glued completely on so they don't move at all. Now to weather in the stowage, going over the whole thing with some panel line accent colour that's been mixed 50-50 with some white spirit just to thin it out quite a lot. It goes on really severe, but once the white spirit is sort of evaporated off a bit, it really does come back down. And we're going to obviously varnish over the top as well. So once the model's all together, it will be getting a couple of layers. First of all, it's going to get a satin polyurethane layer. That gives it a nice tough finish, and then over the top of that I'm going to go with a matte Vallejo matte varnish, just to bring all that shine back out of it. The first coat will dumb down all the weathering, the second coat will just make it matte and take the shine off. The second fiddliest part of this build is the Vickers machine guns. There are a few different scheme options. You can have some really big weaponry on here. The one at the rear is not too bad. It's a bit too close to the jerry can, so there's not a lot of room for it to move, but the front ones are extremely fragile, the double Vickers on the front. So they do need buoying up a little bit when you come to glue them. So I'm going to use my tweezers as sort of a stanchion to rest the twin Vickers on while they set, because they are very fragile once you start to glue them in, and it's just going to be left. Then I'm going to walk away and have my tea, and when I come back they should be nicely done. You can still weather these up a little bit. I've gone all over with gunmetal, then a little bit of the panel liner as well to give some detail to the grooves and the lines, but these do need to be left quite left alone quite a lot before you start manhandling the model. Now that's all in place, it's time to put on all the final stowage. There's no wrong answers, you get plenty to choose from, and how you stack it and how you build it, it's your model, it's your choice. So we're going to be putting in some wooden boxes, some ammo crates, some spare canisters for the Vickers. The odd water bottle will be glued onto there. Just make sure you get your stack right. I couldn't get that in properly, so I'm going to go for one that's slightly smaller. Once that's all in, each layer is going to get a little bit of weathering as well. These crates do have a nice grain on them, so I've painted them purposefully light, so when I put the panel liner on it, it will really make the grain pop out. I'm going to let each layer set before I build on to the next, and there's no real mounting points for any of this. As I said, you just got to choose the place that you want to put it on and just go for it. I have also scratch built some rope for the front. Basically just painted up some string. Once it's all in, I'm going to go around it with the same 50-50 mix of the panel line accent colour and the white spirit, and that'll start to dirty it up and make it look a little bit more realistic. You have to hold this on all sort of angles to make sure that you haven't missed any, because you don't want any bright patches standing out. When you start putting this on, it will pull slightly, but as it dries it will thin out and stick to all the lines and all the creases and crevices within what is supposed to be the material, and it'll stick really nicely to all the panel lines, and it'll make it look like it's had a bit of wear and a bit of batter. Time to get the figures done. Figures are really my Achilles heel. It's something I'm not great at and something I really do keep practicing at. These took an extremely long time even to get them to the poor standard that I managed, but they are an improvement when I compare them to the old ones, so it is worth me putting the effort in. It's something I'm determined to get better at, is doing figures, so I do really take my time. I'm trying to train my eye and train my muscles and not back away from the detail, actually go a little bit gung-ho for it. I tend to use the model colour Vallejo for the flesh. It's dark flesh that I use, and I want to get into maybe looking at how to make the flesh tones a little bit better when I do a tiny figure. These are 135 too, so a little bit easier. Some of the figures that I find myself painting are the 172 or 176 scale figures, and it is a real challenge for me, but I managed to get the beards on and make the faces look a bit realistic. Once I've done two coats on the figures, they too will get a wash over with a very thin coat of the panel line accent, and that'll bring all the folds and creases out from the uniforms and from the shamar on the head, and it'll dull down that blue colour for the bands on the top. I chose blue because I paid for the model, so I think is the rule. I just wanted blue ones on there, so I went blue. It's probably not very tactical, but I think it looks nice. Fitting the guys in can be a little bit fiddly. Not so much with the machine gunner. He's just got his foot up on the jerry can. But getting the driver in and getting the steering wheel orientated to the correct angle is kind of a bit of a mare. The instructions say to glue the steering wheel into his hands. That would be great if I hadn't got the twist in his body slightly off. So I'm just going to stick him in loose and not glue him, and then put the steering wheel on the post afterwards, and then see if I can just do a bit of jiggery pokery and make him fit. It is a little bit of a fiddly way to do it. Next time I think I will try what the instructions say. Now that's all done, the two different layers of varnish are going over the top to protect it. So this is the satin polyurethane varnish. This is what dries and gives it a really hard coat, but it is a little bit too shiny. And after this one is dried, I'm going to let it dry for about an hour, which is plenty. And then I'm going to go over with the matte varnish, and you can probably just see as I go over with the matte varnish as the shine will start to back off, and it will start to look a lot less like it's soaking wet. This is again just to bring the colours back and to mute down all of the weathering. And there we are, finished. One of the most enjoyable models I've ever built, and it's the second time around. Tamiya have really cracked it with this one. For £9, I can't recommend this enough. There's a good shot there of the rope that I forgot to put in the build. There's plenty of opportunities to learn, plenty of opportunities for detail, and it's an incredibly satisfying model to build. I couldn't be more pleased with this. I'll show a comparison of the one that I built over a year ago, and I can see the difference. Although they both look a bit shoddy to me, I can see that I'm progressing and getting better, especially with the figures. Please shout out in the comments if you're still here. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. Everything I've used has been linked in the comments. Please consider subscribing or even becoming a channel member. That's a really great way to support the channel and helps me keep the lights on and build more models. Thank you again, and I'll see you in the next video.